has heard from their doctor, and if not from their doctor, at least from their neighbor or friend, that we should all be taking fish oil. And I think there's probably some confusion as to what does that mean and why, and what's omega-3 and what's omega-6, and what are the benefits, and why are we in this condition of that being such high on the priority list. And I would say also that if you have a chronic condition, or you're just not getting the maximum out of life, it is possible that you are low in omega-3 and that you have cellular inflammation. So just to kind of let you know, because my mind goes, well, why now are we being told so much about fish oil? Why were our parents not being, and our grandparents not being? Well, the food chain has really changed. So our parents and their parents, I'm going to let him drop this off first. I'll just continue. He's got the water that we're going to surely need. Thank you.
We had cod liver oil, Rose.
Yes, we did. It was yummy, wasn't it? Were you all so happy for that cod liver oil? But you know what? It was a great thing. It was really, it was one of the smartest things. Our parents didn't do much.
Excuse me, so is it going to be 11 or 12? What is the final number?
The final number is
12. We need to know now because...
Yes. The final number is 12, correct?
12?
One is salmon.
One salmon and 11 chickens.
Yes. Right. Thank you. You're so patient. I promise never again will I have to talk to you so many times. So the food chain's really changed. And yeah, the cod liver oil was a great thing. My mother was kind of tired of giving it by the time I came around. I wish I had been her first child, not her fifth, because my older sisters and brothers talk a lot more about it than I do. And so the food chain's changed. I mean, there was so much omega-3 in grass-fed beef, and we were such a beef-eating country that we don't get that omega-3 in the beef today, because we are not getting grass-fed beef, unless you're me, and I am getting grass-fed beef. So because I do buy only grass-fed beef. So there's just one of the reasons, and if that question comes to your mind, well, why? That's one. We don't need to go on to all the other reasons. We'll just start talking about inflammation and omega-3s. So omega-3 has been shown to be one of the things that can really reduce cellular inflammation. Now, the other thing about cellular inflammation that I think is really interesting is it's the type of inflammation that's really disruptive, and it causes a breakdown of signaling between the cells. So if you think about what that means, signaling between the cells, some of those are brain cells, and so omegas really feed the brain. They have been able to show that there's a huge contribution that omega-3s can make to the brain, and this study was so interesting to me because it was done on NFL Retiree Association.
Oh, very interesting.
Very interesting because they concurred so many head injuries. And so when they went to the Retiree Association to interview and study these guys, there was a lot of mental impairment. And so they did take a group, and this was done by Dr. Barry Sears, and I'm not sure if you're all familiar with him, but I think he's written some great things and done some really great studies, and he studies omega-3s intensely.
Isn't he the...
He's Toxic Fat, and he's also The Zone.
What is his book called?
The Zone and then Toxic Fat. But he's just very interested in omega-3s, so he's done some of his own studies, collaborating with others to see what omega-3s could do. So they took these NFL players, retired NFL players, and they took a placebo group, and they took the other group, and they gave them 6,000 milligrams of omega-3s. And they did show a huge improvement in their mental impairment. So that's pretty interesting. Now, so then to go on to, well, why omega-3s and why not other drugs? Well, we have our brain has the ability to, it has a barrier, it has a blood-brain barrier to not allow in things that are allowed into our bloodstream necessarily our brain can't handle just everything that we ingest and everything that gets into our bloodstream. So we have a barrier, and it will not allow in drugs, and it will not allow in toxins from your blood, but it will allow in omega-3. The omega-3 is able to get past that barrier. So, that being said, I think that, just to assume, but not yet to have any facts, that it could be a wonderful thing for anything like Alzheimer's or brain injury or prevention. Because the one thing that Dr. Barry Sears also recommends is if you have a good amount of omega-3 in your blood on a daily basis and you were to incur a head injury, you'd be protected. And so he's saying not, don't just think because you're an athlete that you need that protection, but what about if you're in a car accident? What about if you fall in on ice? I happen to know somebody that fell on ice. You know how your feet just slip right out from underneath you. It was Karen Taylor, just early this winter. And she hit her head so hard, and the concussion was different than anything. I mean, my son had gotten concussions, and I, kind of familiar, and I'm talking to her, and no, she got a concussion that she's no longer driving. She's, it's a much more serious concussion than you would have thought. Now, she isn't a real healthy person. So I did kind of assume, well, I guess it has something to do with that. But then it occurred to me after doing this, wow, well, maybe she had no omega-3's protection in her brain, and that's why the concussion was so much more serious for her. That's an assumption, but it starts to make sense when you study more and more about omega-3s. So what would be a protective dose? Would be 2,500 milligrams is what would be a protective dose. Daily would be a protective dose, and I believe that's how many of these would that be? Two is 1,200, so it's 4. 4 would be a protective dose. That's not a very big investment.
But is
I'm
that,
taking 2.
what about with the vitalizers?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Vitalizer has 800, I think. So,
Okay.
that is actually, at the dosage that Dr. Barry Sears, after all of this study, would say to all of us that we should be taking 2,500.